Hi, guys. I hope you had a great restful week off. Yesterday's homework was review of things to help us be successful in our new chapter. Today we will be starting the first part of chapter 9. Now we're jumping around a lot in this semester to different chapters because the order that the chapters appear in the book doesn't make logical sense to us. So we decided to switch some things around. So we are now going back to chapter 9. We're actually going to start in the middle of the chapter, and this chapter is going to be all about solving quadratics. For today's video, we're going to solve quadratic problems that have already been factored, and then tomorrow we can focus on solving from factoring. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's lesson, we need to know something called the zero product property. The zero product property says that if you have a multiplication problem whose answer is 0, then either one or both of the things that you were multiplying together was equal to 0. So for instance, in this example, if I'm doing a times b and I got an answer of 0, then a has to be 0, or b has to be 0, or maybe they're both 0, but at least one of them has to be 0. So anytime you're doing a multiplication problem and you get an answer of 0, one of your things that you multiplied had to be the number 0. So if I have this problem, x times y equals 0, and I'm asked to solve, then for my final answer, I would say, well, maybe x is 0, or maybe y is 0. And I would actually write both of those answers on the answer line, x equals 0 or y equals 0. And so here with two variables, I get two answers, an answer for the x and an answer for the y. Now we don't always have two variables, but we can still have a multiplication problem that results in an answer of 0. So here is really what these problems this chapter are going to look like. In this problem, I do have a multiplication problem. I am multiplying the outside letter x with the quantity x plus 3. The multiplication sign can be found right between the x and the parentheses. Based on our zero product property, either the first thing has to equal 0 or the second thing has to equal 0. So let's check both of them. So the first part would be my letter x. And so I'm going to take my letter x and I'm going to set it equal to 0. And I'm going to say, what if the x was 0? But then I also need to say, but wait, maybe the x is not 0. Maybe the second part is 0. Now, the second part in this problem was an adding problem. It was held together by parentheses. So I actually just set the whole adding problem equal to 0. Now, I do want to solve for x because I'm trying to figure out what does x equal. So then I would subtract the 3 on both sides, and I would get x could equal -3. Since this multiplication problem had two parts, an x and an x plus 3, I will be getting two answers. My first answer is 0, and my second answer is -3. When you're writing these answers, you want to write them in what's called a solution set. You no parentheses. If you use parentheses, that means you have an x and a y. But we don't. We have two x's. So make sure you're using a solution set, which is the curly brackets. And then we usually write them numerical from smallest to greatest, but it doesn't really matter. So I went ahead and did numerical on this PowerPoint, -3, 0. And by putting them in the squiggly brackets, that means that these are both representing the same letter, which is the letter x. Let's try another one. Okay. In this problem, I also have a multiplication problem. I have a 2a plus 4, and that is being multiplied with an a plus 7. The multiplication sign is happening right in between the two parentheses. Since I have two parts to this problem, I'm going to set each part individually equal to 0. So 2a plus 4 equals 0, and a plus 7 equals 0. Next, I will solve each one on its own. So for my blue equation, I'm going to subtract 4, and I'm going to divide by 2. And for my blue equation, I got maybe a equals -2. Then I'm going to solve my green equation. and I'll subtract 7 on that one. And so for my green equation, I said, but wait, maybe instead a is -7. And we don't really know which one it is, and it could be both. So we just put them both as the answers. If I'm going in numerical order, -7 is smaller than -2. When you're writing your answer to your homework, make sure you're using squiggly brackets. When you're doing Delta Math, you can type in your first answer and then hit a comma. As soon as you hit the comma, it'll automatically put in the squiggly brackets for you, and it'll give you 2 answer boxes. Here are 3 for you to try on your own. Make sure to split these where the multiplication problem is happening, and remember that each of these will have multiple answers. When you're ready, go ahead and unpause the video and check your answers. Let's see how you did. For the first one, I should get 2 answers. From the first parentheses, I got an answer of +8. From the second parentheses, I got an answer of -7/2. I do prefer fractions over decimals, so make sure you're writing everything as a fraction. Anytime you have a number in front of your variable, you always run the risk of having a fraction for your answer because you will need to do some division. For the second problem, I also got 2 answers. From the t that was all by itself outside the parentheses, I got an answer of 0. And then from my parentheses, I got an answer of 9. For the third problem, I'll end up with 3 answers because there are 3 separate parentheses. Each parentheses will give me its own answer. From the first parentheses, I got an answer of +5. From the second parentheses, I got an answer of 3/2. And from the third parentheses, I got an answer of -3/2. This concludes today's video.